behind us, and he likes to say, AI is easy, but AV is hard. And it seems like he's right. But so, hello everybody. How you guys doing? Good. Well, a lot of smart people here about crowdsourcing, so I'm hopefully wanting to make this interactive as I go through and share some real-world examples of how HeroX is helping organizations crowdsource successfully. You guys know the pain. This is, motherhood-and-apple-pie, preacher choir, right? The world's moving fast. Companies are falling behind. They're feeling the pain. And that's led to this. This is PwC's survey from their CEO survey from last year. And you can see their top 3 business priorities. Number 1, innovation. Yeah, it's getting big. But number 2 and number 3 I like too. Human capital. Yeah, got that. And digital capabilities. So there is a perfect storm coming together for crowdsourcing. We've been doing a lot of crowdsourcing. These are 2 projects we did with Coca-Cola. This is a really great one we've done for Boeing. The Go Fly Challenge. This is a $2 million project broken into a number of different subcategories. Boeing responded in part to Airbus's announcement that they were spending $4 billion on creating flying jetpacks or cars for mass transit in cities. And so Boeing, in part, they're also doing internal stuff, took $2 million and is crowdsourcing these innovations. How do we keep safety? How do we manage noise? And they had over 700 teams participate on this project. And what I really love about it is look at the global reach that they have. So HeroX's model is really about helping each organization be successful with their crowdsourcing project. And what we bring is the missing platform. The platform where the crowd's going to come and interact with the brand and work with their problem and work to solve it. This is another one we've done, National Geographic. They've got a problem. Who's here have seen the National Geographic magazines? They're really old and stodgy, right? They're like, yeah. So, National Geographic is now Nat Geo for the young, right? And so they're rebooting their brand into the millennials and the Gen Zs. And crowdsourcing is one of the best ways to engage, for brands to engage with the digital natives. We've also done a lot of work with NASA. Anybody here from NASA? Hello. So NASA, so you guys can tell me if I get this right. So NASA is one of the pioneers in open innovation and in engaging with citizen science in the community. And that really comes from the Apollo program when they had to get to the moon in, 9 years? You should know this. Yeah. And they were like, we cannot do it. And they had to rely on an ecosystem of contractors to make it all happen. And so that forced NASA into a culture of collaboration with the private sector. And then the natural segue from there is to go into using crowdsourcing now that we have this thing called the internet. And it's been working amazingly well. NASA's doing some amazing stuff, right? Did I get that right? All right. And not only that, but a lot of other agencies are coming to NASA and saying, oh, you've got this, the NTL, NASA Tournament Lab. Can we help, can we use your conduit for our own crowdsourcing? So we've done a lot of projects for other departments through that facility, and it's been really amazing. This is one of my favorites. I like talking about it. Space Poop Challenge. So NASA wanted to figure out how to poop in space better. If you can get poop in your presentation, I'm just saying. What was great about this, so we had huge engagement. I think we had infographic here. So this is an infographic for the Space Poop Challenge. And we got huge engagement. And what we learned is, and this was kind of covered a little bit by the previous presentation, it's all about framing. You want to frame your challenges in a way that's fun, entertaining, that pulls people out and makes them want to participate. And one of the things we really got in this project was the importance of allowing team formation to occur. So one of the things we've really been building at HeroX are more social tools to allow teams to form. And a lot of our bigger projects now, it's all about getting teams to join forces, for the crowd to self-organize into groups that are going to be much more powerful to be able to deliver a solution than if they're just all alone. So the collaboration role of crowdsourcing is something we've really been building. This is another project. This is a dentist who is just upset. He went to the Philippines, and he's like, people are losing their teeth. There's not enough dental health care, and they can't afford dentures. So how can we use modern technology, 3D printing and whatnot, to create durable dentures that can be printed on site and distributed to people? And that project he launched, and we're actually working on a phase 2 for it. So we do lots of different projects. Now, do you see the common theme? Anyone? There is no common theme. So what we've done at HeroX is focused on solving every single problem we can solve using crowdsourcing and figuring out where's the boundary for crowdsourcing. Now, our sandbox is knowledge work and innovation. So we're working on the stuff that organizations are trying to solve, right? The real productivity work. And so you guys know this already, what crowdsourcing is. A lot of people don't really know what crowdsourcing is. That was talked about yesterday. So we are focused on building a toolkit for crowdsourcing that is open and focuses on knowledge work. Now, I love knowledge work. You guys all probably do knowledge work. Knowledge work is thinking for a living. And knowledge work has no intrinsic carbon footprint. And knowledge work is the growth engine for the developing world, for the developed world, sorry, and will be the growth engine for the developing world. If we want to get everybody into the middle class, we want to give everybody opportunities, they're going to leapfrog into knowledge work. And a lot of the developing countries are figuring this out. So that's our sandbox. These are some of the areas we've done work. We've done projects at millions of dollars. We've done projects that have no reward whatsoever, no cash reward. And our success rate on those have been almost equal. The trick is to match the incentives to your question, to your ask. Done lots of different projects for lots of different companies. I think I've already covered that. So we're really excited about the growth. And we're really moving now into a new phase where we're starting to work and prefer to work with partners and really build an ecosystem. Our platform is all about connecting. And our Crowd 2.0 model, which I'll get to in a second, is about helping brands connect with their crowd. And crowdsourcing is an extremely complex space. So no one organization is going to solve every use case for crowdsourcing. So that's why we really see that the model that's going to work here is an ecosystem model where we're helping brands connect with crowd, and then all of the best effective crowdsourcing solutions, apps, if you will. Topcoder being, Topcoder, where are you? Topcoder, anyone? Topcoder is not in the building. So Topcoder is awesome. We've worked with them on a couple of projects. We're partnering with them more and more, and that's a great example. We bring the social network for crowdsourcing, and they can bring their optimized, tuned coding apps, if you will. They're crowdsourcing games that they've tuned and are proven effective. And we help people connect with problems that are worth solving, that they'll get paid to do. They'll build a track record. And this can be a game changer for people that otherwise don't have access to building a resume, to getting a job, et cetera. So that really gets down to our view of Crowd 2.0. And so the idea, so a lot of people misunderstand crowdsourcing as like, let's fire everybody and crowdsource. That's not what crowdsourcing is about. Crowdsourcing is like Wi-Fi, right? You know, we had the long-haul fiber optic cables, and then we got Ethernet to get to our devices. right? And then somebody invented Wi-Fi, which just makes the Ethernet cables that much more valuable. It increases the level of access and opportunity, but it didn't make the network cables obsolete. And so with crowdsourcing, we see it as a way of enhancing your in-house team. The crowd is good at a certain type of work. It needs to be packaged. It needs to have low context within your organization. They're going to deliver raw materials. They're going to deliver raw materials, raw capabilities that your team can then take internally and can move it through the commercialization process and into new products, product improvements and whatnot. Or a NASA talk, we can take the technology readiness level from level, I forget, level 2, thank you, to level 7. Yeah, there you go. So that's it, so that's the real model. It's about looking at what's the competencies the company's focusing on and where are they falling short in the marketplace in innovation. So we work with a lot of innovation groups inside of organizations. Smart organizations have invested in innovation. A lot of them have innovation labs. One of our clients is Lululemon. They've got an innovation group called Whitespace. And they're super smart, and they're doing good work. But they're not really capable of working on those disruptive, crazy ideas because the amount of iteration required is just too much. And if you try to do that in-house, you're just going to get a bad performance review and get fired. So this model works really well. And this is really the visual that we see, and it actually comes from, do I have the book? I don't have, oh, here we go, the book. Who's read this book? Anyone? Naveen, have you read this book? You need to read this book, okay? These guys wrote The Second Machine Age. The Second Machine Age was the book that talked about technological unemployment, how robots are going to take all our jobs. They were pretty smart about it. So this is their follow-up book. It's more positive. It talks about the 3 mega trends in business, in organizations. And it does a very good job of surveying the future. So machine is machine learning, robots, AI. That's gotten a lot of coverage, maybe too much. Platform is using platforms, either being a platform or using platforms aggressively. There are a lot of startups that wouldn't exist right now today, wouldn't be flourishing if they weren't good at using the platforms that are out there, like Facebook and others for marketing. Platforms are changing the world, and this book does a good job of figuring that out. And platforms are very different than your traditional pipeline companies. And then the third chapter, which obviously I like, is crowd. And they do a very good job of explaining how crowdsourcing is becoming the future. And this is the diagram that I created based on that book. So it's the missing diagram. And what you can see here is really we're moving from the Mad Men model over on the left there, where the world moves slow enough that we could have board meetings, we could have power lunches, right? We could pick the team, give them the data they needed to innovate, right? And in the new model, we're going out. When we can't find the answers inside, we're going out to the rest of the market. You still get to keep your core team. They still get to have secret meetings. That's all, you get to keep that. This is an enhancement on the model. And companies that are doing this is, by the way, Silicon Valley has figured this out, and there's crowdsourcing everywhere in Silicon Valley. They don't even call it crowdsourcing anymore. It's just the right thing to do. So I think we've talked about Glassdoor. Who here has not heard of Glassdoor? Thank you. I was at a CEO conference. This is arguably, it was 18 months ago, and I think like 20% of the CEOs heard of Glassdoor. And I'm like, you can't be a CEO and not know about Glassdoor. So this is already happening, right? So this is already happening, whether you like it or not, okay? So the question is, are you going to participate or are you just going to be a bystander? Because people are talking. So our model kind of fits into this, right? So everybody talks about the right-hand column there, you know, the big scary one. Ooh, the robots. And then they're pretty worried about the left-hand columns because it's like, am I going to be employed for a while? Well, the good news is profitable businesses hire a lot of people, and innovative businesses are profitable businesses. So there's a positive feedback loop for organizations that leverage crowdsourcing. And crowdsourcing is good at a certain type of work organized and packaged in a certain way. And that's what we help organizations do. We've studied over 1,800 crowdsourcing projects, and we've built a toolkit and a set of best practices on how to crowdsource almost anything. And when we work with clients, we're very careful to advise them to crowdsource when it's the right thing to do and not when it's the wrong thing to do. And I'll give you a quick example. If you know what you want, if you're able to specify what you want, hire a freelancer or source it internally. Crowdsourcing is about you not knowing how to spec what you want, but you can really talk about the problem that you need to solve or the requirements of what the solution needs to be able to accomplish. The box that the solution is going to come in. That's when crowdsourcing works the best. Design challenges, creative challenges, innovation, those are the sweet spots for that. Now, I wanted to share this. This is a fun fact. And so 90% of all the scientists who've ever lived are alive today. That's what it says, right? Yeah. Think about that. Now, they're using PhDs as their measure, which I think is a pretty good measure. Although I'd argue that there's a ton of science happening by non-PhDs, so maybe it's even higher, okay? But we have an explosion of, obviously, population. We have an explosion of education, of post-secondary education. The amount of horsepower that's out there and their access to tools and capabilities that 20 years ago was only available inside the biggest corporate labs is unbelievable. So this is the stuff you want to tap into, whether you're a startup entrepreneur or whether you're a Fortune 500 company. So I wanted to also share, here. So this is a quote I like to open up with the executives I talk about, which have anxiety, which is, this is what we've learned in working with organizations. That by the time the problems trickle up into management, the solution is usually not in the building. And why would that be? Anyone? Well, your team hopefully is smart and helpful. So their job is to solve problems. And they're not going to really, take a problem they can solve and, throw it up to the next rung. They're going to try to solve it. So by the time it gets up here, the solution's not in the building. And that's when you want to go out. And so, of course, what happens in these executive suites is that the problems accumulate, right? And more come, and the anxiety gets bigger and bigger, and the organizations struggle more and more. So that's really what we focus on. And ultimately, this is kind of what we're about as a company, both culturally and with our goals. So what we're doing now is we're really working with partners to help work on our platform and bring as many of these solutions to organizations as we can. And the model that we use for that is, we call it co-innovation. And it's where we help marry the power of the crowd, the power of our partners' platforms, like a Topcoder, for example, and the organization's needs. And our view in that sticky crowd, which I'll go back to, if it'll work. So our view here is just like social media marketing, right? Like, banks have Facebook pages. Did you know that? Yeah. And do you think the CEO woke up one day and went, I got a private jet, but I want a Facebook page? No, they're doing it because that's the new normal. To engage with your consumers. I don't even think banks like it. Have you gone to a bank's Facebook page? It's painful. But social media is here to stay, right? And organizations are engaging with consumers on an ongoing basis online. So we think it's just inevitable that they're going to do the same thing with producers. Isn't that obvious? right? But what they need to do is engage directly. They need to recruit their own crowd. It needs to be the crowd opting in. I want to work with them. I like the work that they're doing. It's sticky, it's social, it's connected. And so we're the missing social network to allow brands, public organizations, nonprofits, government, to start building their tribe, building their crowd, curating it. We have clients that have 26 in their crowd, and that's enough for them. We've got others that have tens of thousands. So we believe it's a sticky model, and if clients come to us with $1 million and go, oh, we want to, do this breakthrough innovation, we usually try to talk to them about chopping it into smaller pieces and start to attract the crowd. Drop some breadcrumbs, get the people, the right people. What are you looking for? AI, drones? And then iterate with them, work with them, and that model really works well. So that's really what we're doing, and as a true open platform, we're open to work with almost any organization that has a crowdsourcing strategy, whether you're a consulting company, whether you've got a crowdsourcing, we like to call them endpoints. So there's a lot of communities that do solve, like user testing communities, coding communities, data science communities. Those are great. And people love to join those who are experts in the field. But that's not where you're going to engage with them. You're going to engage with them by connecting directly to the brand, just like social networks. That's the power of this technology, is to allow direct connections instead of having this anonymous mass of hundreds of thousands of blahs that you throw your project in and see what happens. No, they want to communicate. They want to engage. They want context. They want complexity. That's how it works. And so, and by the way, a lot of this was inspired by the early success of NTL. A lot of what I'm describing, came from our analysis of what was working at NTL, which is that direct engagement, that community. So you guys are nodding a lot. Yeah, exactly. So, but the other thing we've learned, which is kind of bad news for NTL, is that users don't really like going directly to a brand's website and registering and connecting. They want a middle ground. That's why platforms exist. I'd rather buy a TV from Amazon.com than Sony.com. It's a trust issue. It's a safety issue. Amazon, I know what I'm going to get. I know how to return things. I feel comfortable. There's other people there, right? So the model of we're going to create a crowd on our GE.com is going to have a crowd. People are going to log in there. 15-year-old students are going to log into GE.com and do the crowd there. That's not the way it's going to work. The way it's going to work is as a middle ground, whether it's HeroX or some other one, it's a middle ground. So our job, because we want to get this crowdsourcing party really moving now, the time's right, is to make it as easy as possible for the brands to use our platform, for the whole ecosystem to use our platform. And one of the things we really focus on is the feedback from our users, from the innovators, their happiness, how they feel when they participate in a challenge and don't win anything, how they feel with the collaboration and the value that they get from just participating. So we really track that and work on emphasizing that, just like a social network. So, do I have any questions? Yes.
When you're running these campaigns, are you doing all of, you showed the poop crowdsourcing campaign. You had the design up there and all that. Are you doing all that ideation and design and essentially campaign management?
Good question. So our roadmap is to make it crowdsourcing as easy as tweeting for the smaller stuff. I don't think you can tweet $1 million crowdsourcing projects, but we want to make it as easy as tweeting. So we're building a toolkit. We've taken all of the patterns, if you will, in the crowdsourcing projects that we've done and studied. And we're creating a toolkit that will let you build it, kind of like the way you can build a crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter and put on all your stuff, and you don't need a consultant. So we're doing that for the smaller stuff. The bigger stuff is always going to require expert advice because it's big and it's important. So we're actually taking everything we know about crowdsourcing, because we developed actually a pretty good body of knowledge there, And we have an 85% success rate on our crowdsourcing projects across the board. And we're now training our partners. We're training our partners. Did that happen am I out of time? Yeah. We're training our partners to know everything we know and work with an ecosystem of consultants to be able to provide strategy. Whether you're social media marketing or all these new stuff, there are companies that hire marketing firms because they want expertise in social media marketing. There's others that figure it out themselves. We want to span both, but with an ecosystem. Time for one more question?
Yeah, please.
Yes.
How do you, oh, there we go. How do you prioritize and also measure the success of your knowledge work, and what is the percentage of your business?
So our ultimate goal, innovation prizes, like the prize model is where we started, partially because of X Prize, partially because it's exciting and sexy, and organizations will take that leap. And we will keep them forever. They're like a halo. They're like the Olympics, right? But very few people actually participate in the Olympics, and very few people win, right? But what's on the other side of the Olympics? What does the Olympics fuel? It fuels amateur sports, right? And so we kind of see this continuum. And that's why I say knowledge work and not innovation. So that we'll keep the halo, and it works, and it's good, and we love it, don't get me wrong. But I'm really excited about that bottom rung where it starts looking more like freelancing. And we measure our success by how much money is flowing to the crowd. We want that to grow and become global. And I measure my success as an entrepreneur in achieving the ultimate vision here by seeing people who are making a living by working on crowdsourcing projects. And so to do that, you need to get rid of the social waste, is what we call it, which is all the lost, the submissions. They put in 100% of the work as the winner, but the winner won, and they didn't. Or maybe there's a first place, second place, third place. So that model has a role in the real innovation stuff where there's no other option but hundreds of failures. You won't get innovation without, like, the bigger the innovation, the more failure has to kind of be around there. It's just the way it is, right? Ask Alexander Graham Bell and those guys. They've really shown that with their own persistence. But on the other side, creative, talented people, those we're gamifying that. I hate the word, but it works. We're credentializing it. That's a more accurate word, so that people can take the advantage of crowdsourcing, but the individual innovators can work collaboratively and get reliable results. But it's still a pay for success model. It's not timesheets. It's you met the criteria. You're joining a challenge, you're working on a project because you know you can meet the criteria. You've evaluated it, you know yourself, you know what that is, you know you can knock it out of the park. And so that model at the low end is ultimately what I'm most excited about as an entrepreneur.
Great.
Thank you
very much, Christian.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And we'll see you on a stage later on the panel.